Before I became a dad, I remember telling myself I would never be the kind of parent that cuts the edges off of their kid's sandwich. And then I had a kid. Found out that's actually not true. In fact, I'd do anything for my son. I love him. This definitely taught me to stop making assumptions about the parenting methods of others and ultimately not to be so judgmental overall. So I basically work for him. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, getting him dressed in the morning, and then just general entertainment. Who knew I'd be so domesticated? It is actually 5:53. He wakes up at 6 a.m. on the dot, and I wake up an hour early for breakfast and lunch prep while thinking about dinner. Now, just a slight bit of camera talk. First couple of videos I uploaded were actually shot on the DJI Osmo. The Pocket 1, in fact. I told myself I'm not allowed to buy any camera gear until I make at least 8 videos. I have violated that. I actually sold all my camera gear a little while ago. Sold the Black Magic. I don't have a cinema camera. I don't have lights. I don't have anything. And it's mostly because I don't have clients. Like, I enjoy filming, but I don't really require having a bunch of gear these days. So I didn't want that to be a limitation. I also wanted to make sure I was actually going to stick with it. You know, I have had the tendency to come out here, make big, bold declarations about wanting to shoot all these videos, never actually shoot them. And then when I do make a video, there's a bunch of apologies about why I'm too busy to actually film. So this time I told myself, how about you make the videos first? Let's make sure you're into it, you're committed, and then you can buy yourself a little toy. Some of my videos are going to be just coming out and shooting things that make me feel good or just me capture memories. Sometimes they're going to be a more instructional video. Sometimes it's going to be a life lesson. Sometimes it'll be motivation. I don't know, but I do miss having a place for me to come back and create content, and there's no money involved. But with that said, I'm definitely going to have a little bit more strategy to the stuff I create going forward. I have had the tendency in the past to just shoot a video with no real point. And when I say that, I mean, like, I'm just recording things and then I just glue it all together and then I upload it. There has to be a reason for someone to click, and I'm just going to do a little bit better of a job with that. Anyways, 5:58, a couple of pieces of bacon, pancakes, serviceable. Okay, so back to making assumptions. I assumed I would not have to be thinking about getting my kid a cell phone until he was at least 15, 16, probably about to drive. And that at that point it would make sense because he's going to be going further away from me. Smash cut to this year, my son is 10 and he signed up for sports, which means practice, games, and pickups. Now, I very, very clearly remember being in high school back in the good old days when all we had was payphones, and without a quarter, you would have to call collect, wait for the operator to ask you to state your name, and at that moment, you would scream, "Mom, I'm at school, come pick me up." But there was, of course, no way for me to actually make sure she got that message, and she had no way to communicate with me. Smash cut to 2024. You have access to anyone, anywhere in the world because of social media, email, text, phone. We're just a very connected society, and maybe it's time for me to break the cycle. Maybe my son doesn't need to experience that. But I get it. A modern cell phone is not the same thing as a payphone back in the day where all I could do was make a phone call. Now you're giving your kid access to the internet, and I'm just not quite sure he's ready for that. How much nicer is it for him to have an additional way to contact me in the event he doesn't have a quarter to put in a payphone? Not that payphones even exist anymore. Or one of his friends doesn't have one. There's that additional bit of security that I have as a parent. But again, I understand. I definitely did not think I would be considering this early in my child's life, but I am. I was on this job out of town and I was telling this Lyft driver I was thinking about getting him a PS5. And he explained to me that video games helped his kids learn how to overcome adversity, how to see things through when they become difficult. And I had never really thought about video games in that way. He was into like Spider-Man and like the Miles Morales stuff. So I got him a PS5 for those games. Other than that, he hasn't really expressed interest in getting any additional games or doing anything other than just playing Spider-Man. So I'd say he's handled it pretty well. And then once he got it, I had to set up his profile and everything. And it had all these parental controls built into it where I'm actually able to go in and literally lock him out of the system if he's on punishment or something like that. So he doesn't even have access to his system. Far different than the video games I played as a kid. And then I was also thinking with our recent move, he probably lost some connection to his friends. And, you know, video games is a way that kids are able to stay connected. As a kid, I moved around quite a bit myself, and I definitely wished I had a way to stay in communication with my friends. And video games aren't the worst way to do that. For the most part, I play the game way more than he does. So I'm pretty impressed with the way he's handled it. Now, as a kid, I was restricted to video game access only on the weekends. So Friday after school, Saturday, and Sunday. So I've given my son that same rule, but I've taken it a step further. The PS5 gives you this really cool ability to actually limit the amount of gameplay each profile is able to have per day. So not only is he restricted to video games only on the weekend, but he's only allowed to play for 1.5 hours per day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. As a kid, because I could only play on the weekends, that's what I spent my weekends doing, playing. From the moment I put my backpack down on Friday until I had to go to school on Monday morning, I was playing the game. Once he hits his hour and a half, the PS5 will actually save his game right there and then log him out. So he's unable to continue his game until the next day. Honestly, he likes the games he likes, but he doesn't even play those that much. He'd still much rather just draw. For example, it's Friday evening right now. He's taking a bath and all he can talk about is making pizza from scratch and hanging out and watching movies.
I was cooking. What's on the cook? Just smooth and top.
Half-side pepperoni, remember that. Yes. No.
Yes. Every time
Honestly,
you make pizza, you end up eating like one slice.
I'm not worried about my kids.
Dude,
I'm worried about yours.
Coffee.
No, seriously. It's like I know what kind of kid I'm trying to raise, but the challenge is what the other kids are going to expose my son to. What are they going to show him? What are they going to talk about? When I became a parent, I didn't think about the outside influence, but your peers can have a much bigger influence on you than your parents, and that's what I'm hoping doesn't happen. I know what I'm going to expose him to. I know what I'll let him watch on TV, what kind of music I'd let him listen to, but I don't know what the other kids in his class are being exposed to. All I can do is be there for him, make him feel comfortable coming to me about anything, and hopefully he feels comfortable confiding in me if something that he knows is wrong is happening. That's the scary part. I'm not naive. Some scientists suggest that giving your child a phone too early can cause anxiety, sleep deprivation, and addiction. I won't refute that, but there has been a significant rise in the awareness for mental health. Our children just went through a worldwide pandemic, and they undergo active shooter drills as early as elementary school. There is simply a lot more to be anxious about these days. I mean, they said rock and roll and video games were polluting the minds of the youth in the past. There's always something, but it seems like a healthy balance is key. This is super complicated, but I think I've decided to go ahead and let him get a phone at least for the rest of the fall sports season. There's only a few weeks left. It'll give me an opportunity to see how he handles it, and I think after that I can make a better decision whether long-term this is a good or bad idea. Whether or not I wanted to get him his own phone, he already uses an iPad in class, and then he's often encouraged to use the internet. He's been given YouTube videos as resources, and then he'll often have to go and read a passage online. So in a way, not being tech savvy actually would hurt him academically. You know, I think back to my own childhood and times when I didn't have a device. I had no way to reach anyone, and I would hop on my bike and just ride 3-4 miles away from home. So I think this is a little bit of an opportunity to give him some independence while I'm really heavily monitoring him to make sure this is the right fit. Being able to use these devices in moderation is going to be super important as they get older. So I don't want to make having a cell phone a big deal. But truly, there's not much of a difference between an iPad and a cell phone. And the only issue is that he's currently tethered to a Wi-Fi connection. I was a kid too once, and I did not always listen to my parents, so I'm also aware of that. This is an opportunity for him to earn some independence. If he can show that he's responsible even with carrying his phone every single day and keeping it charged, that's going to give me a little bit more comfort in knowing that he's ready for a little bit more responsibility. He's been asking about riding the bus. If he had a phone, I'd feel a lot more comfortable with him doing so.
You click it? I like the 7, so I picked the one with the 7s in it.
What's the number? You don't know? Nope.
Just got it.
The more independence I was given, the better decisions I made, and I hope he'll do the same. So with that, I've created some rules. There's not going to be any cell phone usage in the house. His phone is honestly supposed to stay in his backpack all throughout the school day. He is definitely 100% not allowed on any social media platform for any reason whatsoever. The immediate discovery of him on any social media platform for any reason will lead to an immediate termination of his cell phone privileges. I want him to feel comfortable getting his friends' contact information, but we're definitely not going to be sending each other memes and things like that. He's just too young for that. There's a lot of reasons I'd like him to have a phone, but social media is not one of them. I don't really see there being any value in that for him at this particular point, so we'll see how he handles it. I think part of this is embracing technology. The only constant in life is change, and I don't want to get left behind resisting it. I don't want to be the old guy who's always talking about back in my day, because some of the things from today are just a little bit better. Prior to the pandemic, I didn't really use like the tap to pay feature on my phone. I was one of those people who was always hesitant about uploading all my information to my device because what if you lose your phone, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, now that I'm doing that pretty regularly, it makes my life a little bit more simple. There are times when I'm out skateboarding or I'm going to the gym and I don't want to carry my wallet because that's now something else that I have to carry and I really don't have a place to put it. Using something as simple as social media to stay in contact with friends or even AI to simplify your life. These are things that I was resistant to for a long time, but I've come to find out that most things within moderation can be good. I'd say I'm a pretty involved parent, and honestly, this whole thing is really just going to mean more responsibility for me. I'm just going to have to do a better job of facilitating his usage of technology, and that just means more growth and change for me.